Greetings, Rob Simpson with you, aka Simmer, known to most, at Simmer Puck at Twitter. Simmer Puck is the YouTube channel, and of course, I'm the senior NHL reporter in two cities. Senior, a kind way of saying old. VancouverHockeyInsider.com, SeattleHockeyInsider.com, and all over the world. By the way, it's my distinct pleasure today to welcome in the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, Craig Berube. Chief, how the hell are you?
I'm good, Simmer. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate
Oh,
it. But I'm doing well.
good. I'm stoked.
The season hasn't started
We'll get to that in a second. Um, what'd you do with your summer vacation? It's like grade six all over again. What'd you do with your summer vacation?
Well, I come back to the Philly area. I live outside of Philly in a town called New Hope, PA. And, basically, it's where I spend my summers and time off when I'm not coaching. And basically, we traveled, did some traveling with the family and some golf. Belong to a course just up the road, real close. So everything's really close. And I try to get out and play some golf and do some traveling with the family and things like that. The Jersey Shore's not far. We go down there too.
Uh, you went somewhere you'd probably never been before, right? Didn't you take a European
Uh,
trip to some pretty
yeah.
exotic places?
Yeah, we went to Spain and Portugal and Morocco this summer. We
Nice.
usually do a big trip every summer with the family, the kids, and everybody, and it was a great trip. Really nice, very good, great weather. Wasn't too hot, but beautiful places. It was
Any
really nice.
any food issues in Morocco? How was that?
Oh, what was that? Any what?
Like food or any issues?
Well, I didn't eat that much there, to be honest with you. We had a little bit of food there, but we weren't there that long, so we didn't eat a whole lot there. But the food in Spain and Portugal was fantastic.
You didn't get to Turkey? Thought you were going maybe to
I
Turkey.
went to Turkey 2 years ago. We
Okay.
did another trip. We're in Turkey and Italy and Turkey, Italy, and where was the other place? We went somewhere else over there too. But yeah, Turkey was. I like Turkey a lot. The food was good. It was a great place.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. You already kind of alluded to the fact that we're not into the season yet. So give the
Yeah.
folks an idea of like
Wow.
between now and camp, is it just started? Is this a lot of meetings?
Yeah, it's like you kind of do stuff throughout the summer, more than anything. Like I don't think you really just totally get away from it. I don't anyhow. Like, I mean, I try to keep in touch with players throughout the summer, and obviously your general manager, with Brad Trailing, just talking about different things and ideas and so, but now it starts to ramp up a little bit. We get prepared here for camp. And, I was just in Toronto the other day and a lot of guys are skating there and doing things and working. And so it's good. I'll be heading out this weekend, get back there and get ready to go.
Now, when I say Craig Berube, head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs, does that still kind of go ding? Like at what point in your life or playing career did you say, you know what? I'm going to do this coaching thing. Like this is
I would say that started when I was in Washington playing with Dale Hunter. And Dale and I became real close. And I'll tell you, this guy, we just watch hockey and just watch games all the time and talk about hockey. So I kind of figured in my head, like, I knew Dale was gonna, coach or, the junior thing, buying the junior team was always, he was talking about that too. So I kind of got a little bit of the itch through him, I think. How you going to stay in the game? Because, you know, both of us love the game. We like being around. Love being in the locker room. That's where it all happens. And I coaching. So I was retired. Well, I didn't even retire yet. I played my last year in Calgary, I think 2002 maybe.
yeah.
And just back here, not doing anything, kind of waiting for a call. Maybe some team, wants to give me another year. Paul Holmgren called me up and asked me if I'd go down and just go on the ice with the Phantoms and work with them and just try to help them. And that's kind of how it got going. And then next, Clarkie and Homer wanted me to coach. So I hung them up and started to coach with the Phantoms.
And it was pretty easy back then because weren't they playing at the Spectrum? And basically, you walked
Yeah,
across the parking lot
yeah.
between the A
We're in the same practice facility as the Flyers, just down the hall. So it was a great setup.
in Voorhees.
And yeah, and the rink, the Spectrum was great for a minor league team to play in. So, I started coaching down there, all worked out.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Now, your boy Rick Tocchet, he just
Yeah.
gets the Flyers gig. He's obviously very familiar with the organization. He played there with you, played actually a longer stint the first time, then came back. I think you guys probably played a season
We
together.
did.
Yep, late in your
Yeah.
career. So I guess there's no advice for him, but you did coach that team for a couple of seasons. What's significant about the Philly head coaching job in particular?
Well, I think that that job it's a little bit different now than I think years back when I was there because it was all about winning then, right?
Yeah,
And when you don't, and I missed the playoffs, I got fired. I mean, that's how it worked
yeah,
because that was always their mold. I thought that, and I only go with Bobby Clark, because when he was the general manager and Ed Snyder was the owner, they did everything possible to put a team on the ice that could win that year. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
yeah,
That was their goal every year, every year. And but now they're in a rebuilding stage. I think that they're getting closer. They with Keith Jones and Danny Briere, like a lot of good drafts and done a real good job with the drafting part of it. Now it's about bringing these young players up and getting them to be good pros, right? And then building a team. So I think they're kind of making steps, but I think Talk will do a real good job. He's a very good teacher, and when you got a young team like that, teaching's the most important thing. And it's not only teaching them the game, but it's teaching them how to be pros and how to present yourself and how do you act and the toughness you need to be an NHL player.
yeah.
Those types of things. He'll do a real good job of it. I think it was a real good hire.
It was a weird time for you though when you were there. You did make the playoffs the first year. You got bumped in the first round, then you didn't make it the second. But
Yeah,
there was a lot of I just
there's
remember
a
a
lot
lot of
going on.
turmoil. Like
Yeah.
Clarkey was getting moved up. Stevens was in, he was out. There was an interim. They went through a series of coaches. It wasn't ideal working environment for you at that point, right?
No, but it wasn't. I mean, I was there for a long time, so it's all I knew.
Right.
It was the only place I'd go. I was probably there 12 years, I guess, something in that range. And, we had a lot of good success and with the Phantoms and the Flyers, but Paul Holmgren was stepping down and giving the reins over to Ron Hextall. So, that he's going to make changes. That's what new guys do that come into a job. Um, you make changes.
Yeah. By the way, any like side bets or steak dinners in the summer or just huge bragging rights with Talk? Because he's in there three. You got he's in Philly November 1st. You're in Philly January 8th. He comes to Toronto on March 2nd. But I imagine there's just like friends on the ice, enemy or friends off the ice, enemies on it. And I'm sure the same thing applies on the bench. You want to beat this guy bad.
Yeah, I do. And he got me. He got me last year twice. We
Ooh,
in Van at home. We played a hell of a game at home too. I thought that we deserved to win that game, but they pulled it out, and then they beat us in Van too. So I owe them. I owe them. I got to get them back this year.
the pressure we always hear about Toronto pressure in Canadian markets, but Philly has kind of a unique pressure too. You just talk about at your time,
Yeah,
you just want to win, 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 but it's kind of a gruff market. But at the
tough
same
market.
time, the whole city, there's a truth to that city of brotherly love stuff. They make fun of it. They're like, oh yeah, right. But I lived in that area for a little while. It was my home rink in the press box for a while. And I remember my son was 5 years old in the back seat, pulled up to a light on Broad Street during the day. and a guy's window's down, my window's down, and he goes, "Hey, I got 2 tickets to the Flyers game. I can't go. Do you and your son want to go?" You just happen to see my son in the back seat. I'm like, "Yeah." So literally jumps out of the car, gives me the tickets. I'm like, "This is crazy." Got to the game, and we're upstairs like fourth row, and the fans are like, they're all about my son. They're like, "You want to move up to the thing? We'll move back." And so we sat on
Yeah.
the ledge. They like the Philly fans get this rap, but they're actually incredibly nice, incredibly dedicated, just so into it, and they take care of their own. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but it was
Oh
really,
no, for sure. Like I'm still here for a reason. I mean, this area and it's been very good to me and the people have been very good to me. I mean, these sports fans here are some of the best. Now, they are tough and they're hard on you at times, but I remember we were getting booed a little bit. I can't remember what year and stuff. And I said to the guys, they go, if you don't want to get booed in this town, all they want is hard work, effort, and toughness. And don't get confused about the toughness part. It's not nothing to do with fighting. It's playing the game hard and being a tough team. That's what they want.
yep,
That's all they want. So if you give an effort and you're playing the game the right way here in Philly, that they respect that. They do. Yeah, they want to win for sure, but they they just want a competitive team.
yep. When you were growing up in Calahoo, Alberta, is that how you say it?
Yeah.
Just outside of Edmonton. So the Oilers were just post-merger when you started playing junior hockey. So it's not like you had a childhood NHL team nearby. So who was your
Yeah.
childhood NHL team?
Well, it would be Montreal, right? So,
Because you,
um, you know, yeah, the TV out there, we got two or three channels maybe, and Saturday night it was Montreal on there half the time, or Leafs too, obviously. But yeah, I was a Montreal Canadian fan and a Guy Lafleur fan. And then it was great. I got to actually play against Guy Lafleur. But no, I really like those teams. Montreal, just the way they played the game. And so I was a Montreal Canadian fan growing up. And obviously, when the Oilers came to Edmonton, I started to follow them too. And, you know, then I'm playing against these guys. And I ended up playing with a couple of them on a team too.
and you have First Nation background, but Berube has got
Yeah,
to be French Canadian, right?
French.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's French.
My grandfather came up from Quebec, came out west, married my grandmother who's native, and lived built a farm in Calahoo there and farmed. That's what they did. They farmed.
Right. All right. So you come out of junior hockey undrafted. You're an enforcer. The game was full of them back then, and it's the late 80s. Your first game is March 22nd, 1987. You weren't anxious at all. Two fights, two instigators, two misconducts, plus a roughing penalty. It was Dan Frawley
Yeah.
who you
Remember
fought
him?
twice. You beat Pittsburgh 3-1. Dave Brown had a goal. He was another big guy. And Timmy Kerr had a goal. How about the mitts on Tim Kerr, by the way?
Yeah.
Holy
Incredible.
God.
We could chat about Timmy.
Same thing
He
about
could,
Gordie Howe. They had the big hands. People wonder how they could score in close. Like you shook his
yeah.
hand, and his like hand came up halfway up your wrist.
Guys, he's a big man. I he some of the stuff that I saw him do, he scored, I think he scored 50 some goals 4 straight years.
Yeah,
And then I think it was the fifth year, he had a shoulder harness on. He couldn't raise his any higher than that because he had the real bad shoulders.
yeah.
They were all screwed up, and that's what ended up
And
him having to retire.
yeah,
I think he scored like 48 that year with that thing on. I mean, his hands were so good and tight. He was so big and strong. And he was a smart player, so, but his hands were incredible
Good-
for a guy that size.
couldn't move him from in front. That helped.
Couldn't move him from front, and he scored a lot of power play goals too.
Yeah, I think still holds the record for single season
Yeah.
power play goals. Two nights later, by the way, I'm not sure what's going on here. You play Penguins again, 3-3. You're a +2. No Pims in game three. And I have a funny feeling you were
But
saving up because game four in Detroit, late 80s, it's Motown with Stevie Wonder, Steve Kaiser, but putting up 2-3 points a night with the protection of the Bruise Brothers. They had
yeah,
Kocur and Probert, and in your fourth NHL game, you drop the mitts with both.
yeah.
And
Well, and
Probert first.
yeah. It's like I'll tell you who helped me out. Coming out of junior, and I went down to the American League. John Paddock was the coach down there, right?
uh,
I come out of junior. I think I scored 30 goals my last year of junior, and you think you're a player. And I remember a conversation with John down there early on in the year. He goes, "Listen, I'm just telling you, you gotta like figure it out. You're not gonna come down here and score goals, and you're not gonna be that type of player. You got to figure out what are you gonna do to get in the NHL." And so the conversation hit home, and I started to get after it down in the American Hockey League. And so when I got my chance, I got called up. I said, I got to what am I going to do to get noticed here and to show them I want to be here? So that first game against Pitt, that was a reason I kind of went a little wild, probably overboard. But I mean, I remember the Detroit coming in, and it was an opportunity to fight Bob Probert, and so we fought, and I popped him pretty good with that. But I'll tell you what, did you watch him after that? I think I just pissed him off because he was still coming. But anyway, it was a good fight, right? I get in the box, and Joey Kocur's throwing his gloves into Proby there into the penalty box, giving him his gloves and sticks, and he comes and skates right by the box where I'm in, and he goes, "You got 5 minutes to think about it, but I'm next." I was like, "Holy shit!" That was a tough 5 minutes thinking about that because I actually probably was a little more intimidated fighting Joey because he could knock you right out. Like
Yeah.
he's devastating puncher. By the way, one of the best human beings you ever want to be around. So Joey and I fought after that, and I fought him very, very smart. And then we went to Detroit a day later and played him in Detroit, and I fought probably two more times that game.
Damn.
So that kind of like Mike really liked, Mike liked that, like
Oh yeah.
he was good to me, Mike. As much as Mike gets heat for a lot of things he did, he gave me a chance, which is important.
You're talking about Keenan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Uh, I had the clips. Hopefully we just saw the clips of those first two fights. What's great is it's the Detroit feed on these videos, hockeyfights.com. So for people who are into that, it's heaven. But it's Mickey Redmond doing color in
yeah.
Detroit, and he's just like,
He's great.
he's he's like, well, here we go. The full on just
Yeah,
loving every minute of it. Was you like Probert popped you a couple times, but you didn't seem phased by it. You've said before you had a hard head, but was there
yeah.
was there anyone that intimidated you or actually kicked your ass at any point? Like you
Oh
lost?
yeah. I remember. I think it was the next year. We're playing Boston, and Rick Tocchet came up to me in warm up, and he goes, "Geez, they got a lot of tough guys over there." Willie Plett was playing, Jay Miller, Lyndon Byers, Gord Kluzak was a giant. I mean, they had a big team. Cam Neely. I'm like, I kind of was a little cocky, and I said, "I don't care. I'll fight them all." And I ended up fighting Jay Miller right away in that game. He was tough, Jay. Like he's just a heavy guy, and I was good early, and then he got me kind of tangled up and popped me a few times, and I'm in the box, and I'm like, Jesus, like he's tough, that guy, and so I come out of the box, and Lyndon Byers, him and I went at it. He hit me with an uppercut, and it really kind of startled me, and I was like out of it a little bit, but I was still trying to fight, and I got kind of tangled up, and he gave it to me good. He did. I yeah, I got beat up pretty good. I had to go get some work done, and it was kind of beat up and cut up, and it kind of woke me up a little bit. You can't get cocky, and
Can't get cocky.
you got to be confident, but you got to know you're going to lose fights, right? I think I was able to last as long as I did because I kind of took that mentality. You're not going to win them all. You're gonna lose fights, and that's part of it. And you gotta just keep grinding. You got to keep doing it. So,
Yeah.
and I was lucky to have Dave Brown with me and Daryl Stanley and Rick Tocchet on that team. Those guys are tough guys, and they were very helpful to me, and really brought me along and helped me out a lot.
Um, do you want to tell the Nick Kypreos story? You told me a story for a writing
Oh,
project that's
well,
to be
you
announced soon.
could,
But are you, by the way, are you good with Kipper? Like you've been on
yeah,
the
oh
show,
yeah,
your pals? Yeah, because you
yeah.
beat the crap out of him
Well,
on purpose.
he hit Peter Bondra low, right? And Keith Jones was on the team, and Jonesy, he's a funny guy. And he's ready to go for a line change, and the hit happens. And Jonesy kind of just said, "You got to get out there and take care of that." So I jump over the board instead of Jonesy, and I go right after Kipper.
Without your
And
stuff.
yeah, dropped my gear, grabbed him, and I'm going at it with him. And Billy McCurry was reffing, and Billy come up to me while I'm fighting. He goes, "You just got yourself 10 games. What are you doing?" And I'm like, "What? For what?" I turn around talking to him. Kipper and I are fighting, and I ended up getting 10 games. That was a rule that came in. You had to get involved in a play a little bit before,
Yep.
you know, and that was just a dumb play by me.
Couldn't leave the bench for the purpose of getting a
Yes.
fight.
Oh yeah. But
It
I'll tell you,
beat him up pretty good though.
losing the money hurt,
Yeah.
but the bag skating that Jim Schoenfeld gave me every game day was worse.
Ooh,
Shoney was tough.
yeah.
He skated me like you wouldn't believe. Just killed me every game day.
Are you buddies with Louis DeBrusk at all? You ever run into
Louis
Louis?
and I fought. Yeah, he was in Edmonton. I was in Calgary, I believe, at the time. Would have been in the early 90s.
Right.
We went at it a couple times, Louis and I. Yeah.
By the way, that story you told about you were with Jonesy, but that was with the Washington Capitals because Bonder obviously
Yes.
was your guy. Louis told me a funny story last year about Probert. He was just like you were anxious. He was a kid, probably 3 or 4 years behind you in the league, Louis. And Proby's standing there, and they'd all been involved in fights, and then Proby like bumped him in a face-off circle. And Louis all jacked up, thinking, "Oh, this is it. I get to fight Probert." And he drops the gloves, and Probert just kind of stares at him, like gives him like fucking dude. So and Louis goes, "Oh, sorry, let me get those." And he like bends down, grabs his gloves. Oops, sorry about that, Mr. Probert. I'm just gonna he's up and get out.
Yeah,
It's
that's funny.
hilarious.
I'll tell you, Proby and I, we fought, I think, 8 or 9 times in our career. The last one was funny because he was in Chicago and I was in Calgary. And I don't know, he hit somebody or something happened. So I went over to him and we dropped the gloves and we both kind of just chuckled. And we didn't even throw a punch. We were just laughing. You know what I mean? Like we are done. It's
Right,
like, what are we doing? We're really going to punch each other in the face now? I don't
right,
think so.
right.
It's
The end,
over.
the end of the run.
Yeah.
By the way, Ty Domi, it was a term used a lot 70s, 80s, 90s, was goon. He
Yeah.
hates that term. Did it bother you whether it applied
I
to that or
don't know if it bothered me. I don't like the word. I
right,
don't think, I don't think it's a proper word to be honest with you. Like we had a job to do and we did it. And, we had a purpose. Like I don't think there was a lot of us that couldn't really play the game.
right,
Like I remember Roger Nielsen coming into Philly when he coached there, and I ended up Clark traded for me from Washington, and I went there. And Roger was great. I mean, he he's like, yeah, you got to do your job, when you have to do it, but you're a checker. You're on a checking line, and you're going to play against good players. Go check. And for 2.5 years, I was there with Raj or whatever. Like that's what I did. So it was nice to have a role like that, and not just focus on the fighting aspect of the game. I think we all could play the game to a good enough level, And then there's
I,
guys that were better. Proby scored 30 goals. I mean, he was a
yeah,
good player.
yeah.
I remember Chris Simon playing with him. He scored 20, maybe 8 or 9 to 1 year in Wash. He was a good player, like Ty played a long time. I mean, Marty McSorley was a good player. Like these
Yeah.
guys were good players.
Yeah. By the way, you mentioned we lost Simon a little while
Yeah,
back, and we
I know.
just lost Byers.
Yeah,
Yeah, a couple of guys.
yeah. It's brutal,
Yeah,
you know.
it is brutal. You played. Oh, by the way, I think the goon thing, by the way, probably came from, I presume, other players on the ice. It came from some little guy, just like you might call somebody a or a
Yeah.
that's probably how it got generated the first time. Like, you know,
Yeah, there was a lot of trash talking back in those days. It probably got a little out of hand at times.
yeah, stuff you're not allowed to say anymore. Um,
No.
40 games for the Toronto Maple Leafs in 91, 92.
Yeah.
What do you remember about that the most?
Well, I mean,
You came
I
in, you
kind of
went
got
out. Trade,
I know
trade, trade.
I got moved around there a little bit, like, and I was, but once I got settled in there, I played on a line with Mike Kushiniski and Foligno.
Crusher.
And I'll tell you what, I was becoming a better player playing with these guys, and Mike Foligno helped me out tremendously, like as a player, and I really loved it there. And I was disappointed when I got traded. I mean, I know that big trade, and you just get, you get Cliff Fletcher always told me I didn't want to trade you, but I needed to make that trade and get Doug Gilmour. I'm going to do whatever I got to do, and I don't blame him. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was tough because it was a great place. I enjoyed it. And it's funny, I'm back there now, a different role, but it's an awesome place.
You played 40 games. You had 5 goals, 7 assists, 11 fights, including Probert once again in Detroit.
Yeah.
Fought Basil McRae twice and Kelly Chase while wearing the Bud. Did How tough was that? The trades, like it was pretty short order. You came in Toronto, then boom, same season you're out. You had 3 or 4.
Yeah.
Did it wear on you?
Um, I yeah, a little bit that year. It was tough that year. But overall, I mean, I didn't let it affect me too much. I fit in wherever I went. Made the best of whatever where I was going to be. And, Calgary was great too. I mean, I played with a ton of good players there and great guys. And so I enjoyed it, but you got to deal, that's the stuff you got to deal with. It's part of the game, that you could get traded. And
Right.
I don't know. I was more surprised that this teams wanted me that bad.
Well, it can be disappointing. There's other disappointments. Obviously, your peak, you won a Stanley Cup as a head coach in St. Louis in 2019. Congratulations again.
Thank you. Yeah.
Covered that series. I was at that series of the Bruins going at it. Um, there are
That
so
was that was a good series. It's funny, like how much the home team won on the road in that series. Like we went into Boston and beat them game 5 and 7. They beat us at home, like game 6. They banged us around pretty good there, and they ended up winning game um, maybe 3, or I don't know which game, 3 or 4. So both good teams. It was a very close series. I mean, could have went either way.
uh, and you've lost a couple, especially as a player. You were in tough ones.
Yeah.
I remember talking to like Montreal Canadian Hall of Famers and Leafs guys that were in the early '60s, and they'd be like, "Yeah, we won," but the thing stuck in them was the loss. And I don't know if it's still that way. The game's changed, but back then there was so much hatred, original six and a little bit past that, where they remember the losses more than they remember the wins in a lot of cases. Yours would have been obviously 98 Detroit, you get swept in the final. The turning point there, I was at games 1 and 2 at the Joe as a
Yeah.
fan, even though I was already in the media, I was there as just a dude with buddies. And game 2 was incredible. You guys had 3 2-goal leads. And Esa Tikkanen could have put the game away. He had an
Yeah,
empty net, essentially.
yeah,
The goalie, I think it was Ozzy at that point, was flipped out, fallen out, missed the net. Draper comes back and wins that game in overtime. Series
yeah,
changes, but
big time. Well, no, it's little things like that that when Detroit was a better team than us.
yeah,
It's, they let's,
they were loaded.
that's we know that. But, you know, we did a good job. We got there and all that, but I didn't think there was enough belief in with our team. Like we needed more from our better players in that series to beat Detroit.
Yeah,
Um, but that's the way it goes.
yeah. You can win by outworking them, though. 95, New
Yes,
Jersey.
you can.
New Jersey was
Yeah.
supposed to lose, and they ended up sweeping the Wings. So the Wings weren't quite ready.
In '87, I was there with the Flyers, and we almost outworked Edmonton. Like they're better than us. We all know that.
Yeah,
But that team worked and they competed at a high level. And it was close, we were right there. Obviously, Hexy played great, and
yeah.
but a lot of times you can get the job done with work. I think our team in 2019, that was a working team. We didn't have many stars, if any. Like we had a big team, we were a heavy team, and we worked. That's what we did.
The poster boy for me on that team, the name that just popped into my head when you got to get contributions for everyone, Sammy Blais, for whatever reason.
Yeah.
All guys like him, all were just on it.
Yeah. We brought Sammy into the lineup against Dallas series, and he kind of really, Dallas is good. They were a good team. They took us to game 7. We know that. That went to overtime. But Sammy came in, I think it was game maybe 4 in Dallas, and I put him on a line with O'Reilly and Perron, and he changed the series a little bit for us. He was physical,
Yeah,
scored a goal that game. You need those guys. Like if you look at our fourth line, Sundqvist, Barbashev, and Steen, that was really probably not our fourth line. Like they were very good. They all contributed with goals throughout the series, and they checked and they did all the dirty work, and that was a very important line for us to be successful.
the one that jumps out me for you as a player is 2000 because I remember watching the series and it pissed me off because I was not a Devils fan. you were
Yeah,
up, you you were up in the
3-1.
conference final and lost the last 3 games of that series. That one must really bug
Yeah, that one was tough. That was a good team. Great group of guys in that team, real close team.
Flyers again, by the way.
That was disappointing for sure. There was a lot of stuff going on, we don't need to get into it all with different things. But that was a tough one to swallow
Yeah.
because I thought that we were moving on to the finals. And yeah, that's what happened. Jersey was a good team. They're just very committed to being patient and playing their game, and they did that, and they beat us.
Uh, yeah, and they go on to win the cup.
Yep.
Um, so also disappointing. Obviously, we're not going to rehash this or get into it at all because you've already had to do it. But this last playoffs, the thing that jumped out for me was your quote in the Bye Bye media session. Loved it. You said, "It takes a lot of pain to win in this league." That was the one sentence of the whole 20 minutes
Yeah.
that stood the most out to me because I don't think people realize there's a lot of math in the game now. But the camaraderie, the commitment, the chemistry, the coaching, but mostly the commitment, the elements, the heart and soul, the gut, that's the stuff that ultimately makes the difference. Can you inflict pain and can you take the pain? And that's what you said. You said it takes a lot of pain to win in this league.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate any more? I kind of just did a little bit.
Yeah. Well, no, it's toughness, right? And that's what I try to preach. And again, it's nothing to do with fighting. If you want to win in this league, you got to pay a price. And I remember Gretzky saying, walking by the Islanders locker room and they beat him. and that was their fourth cup in a row.
Yeah.
And Gretz walked by their locker room, and he didn't hear any partying. He didn't hear any of this hooting and hollering. These guys were like relieved and the pain that they had to go through to beat the Oilers, and ice bags, and you gotta play hard. And if you don't put it all on the line, you'll never win.
Yeah.
And like I said, you got to have that toughness mentally and physically. And we were right there against Florida, but we just didn't push hard enough. You know what I mean? We had them, thought we were played really well early on in the series, and they slowly took it over from us. Even though we went in there and played a great game in game six, like perfect game, how we needed to play. And it was just disappointing to come home and just kind of have that. I don't even know. I don't consider it a letdown even. It's just, it's all mental.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
all mental.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy place in Toronto. We all know that. There's a ton of pressure at home to perform. And, you know, we got to get over that hump.
Has the game changed to the point where the character and the commitment part of it is lacking across the board? Like where half the teams don't have a prayer of winning based on their roster makeups because of the fact that they're not willing ultimately down the road to take the pain, inflict the pain? Like, are we at that point where it's tough to put a roster? Like the Panthers inflict pain. They have a gang
Yes.
pack mentality.
Yeah,
That's tough to duplicate, particularly now, I would think.
it is. They got a great mix of players that are committed to one thing only, winning. And it starts with their captain and their top guy. I mean, he just plays the game properly, right? So everybody follows and but they have that right mindset. They initiate everything
Right.
and they make teams uncomfortable. And they're a deep team. They got a good team, no doubt about it, and very well coached. But again, like it's hard to win in this league because there's so many good players and the teams it's tight, right? We all know that. If you don't have the commitment from every player in the team to this is what we got to do night in and night out to be successful, it's not, and it's hard because all these players are brought up throughout their careers, whether it's junior or college. It's skill, 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 right? And you got to have skill, but you got to have the other things if you want to win,
Yep.
right? The best team wins, not the best individual. It's a team game, and everybody's got to buy into that. And they have to. I use the term, you got to take less and give more from then. That's what you got to do.
Yeah.
And you might be a 50 goal scorer, but if you only score 40 because you're playing defense and you're doing these other things, you have a better chance of winning as a team.
Right.
It's hard to do though, because like I said, these guys are all brought up a certain way, and they're you know, listen, the more you score, the more you get paid, right? Part of it too. So
Exactly.
there's a lot of things that go into it, but as a coach, that's what you got to try to instill in your team, the little things. It's all about the little things,
Yeah.
checking and doing the little things, blocking a shot and being a real tight team and that pack mentality, that's important.
You talked a lot about structure too. How much has structure
Yeah.
changed between now and night when you came into the league? I mean, there was structure, but it's
Yeah.
technology
Not,
involved and the details involved have changed so much.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. It's the game is so fast now. You don't have a second to think, right? And so that's why structure is so important, because people have to be in the right spots all the time and they're there. And when you get that chemistry with your team, that's what drives success.
Yeah.
So you got to have the structure because the game is just too fast. There's too many good players. And if you don't have that structure, you're not it's gonna be tough. And an identity.
Yes.
You got to have an identity. What do you want your team to look like and play like? And Florida, they got a great identity. I mean, they're a dump and chase team. They forecheck hard and they check hard, right?
Yeah.
And leads to success.
Um, just to circle back on one thing, another quote from your buddy Rick Tocchet, because you did bring up it's not about fighting nowadays, but he did say this because I ran into him a couple times. Obviously, he was coaching the Cucks. I'd see him in Seattle. We'd have chats. He said, as it relates to fighting now, not the staged fights just for the sake of fighting, but when you feel someone's being taken advantage of, you've got to answer the bell,
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
right?
And whether you want to do it yourself, which is fine. I think if you can do that, I think you should stick up for yourself. I really do, especially nowadays in this league. But it's important to have that pack mentality when somebody is taken advantage of or something happens, get in there as a group.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do.
The most
And there
pain,
might be a fight, but there might not be.
right.
But you could just go in there and do what you want. Nobody's going to do anything about it.
The most
But that's
painful thing,
important.
most painful thing to watch for me, I think for a lot of guys that follow this game a long time, is when somebody takes a liberty and nobody does anything. It's like,
Yeah.
oh God. That, and
It
then you're
drives me
like, well,
crazy
this
too.
team's, I write them off.
Yeah. It's important. It means a lot to get in there and stick up for your teammate, for sure. Our guys did a good job of that, I thought, this year. Like, and it wasn't one guy. We had a bunch of guys that got in there and took care of business, for whatever reason, things happen. But yeah, it was good, really good to see. I think it's really important, and I thought our guys did a good job of it.
And now just take that whole identity concept, that whole concept, and just another big step forward. And you're
Another big step.
right in the
Yeah,
mix.
yeah,
By the way, Johnny Busick, who I worked with in Boston, we traveled around. I was a dipshit on TV, and he was the traveling secretary, so to speak. He was the chief, legend, Hall of Famer,
yeah,
but he's Ukrainian. You're the chief, but you're actually because he looks like whatever he looks like. Your First
yeah.
Nation. What did it mean to you in 13 when you and Ted Nolan coached against each other? You were the first two NHL coaches with First Nation backgrounds. That must have been something pretty heady.
Yeah, no, it was great. And Teddy and I played against each other in the minors. I think he was in Adirondack then. But yeah, it was pretty special to be part of that, and with Teddy and stuff. And I know Teddy pretty well, and you know, it yeah, it meant a lot. It was good, very good.
Well, Chief, I'll tell you what, it's been amazeballs, and I appreciate it unbelievably. It's been a lot of fun going back through some of the memories, and I wish you the best moving forward with the Toronto Maple Leafs. At one point in time, my employer as well, and my son, who's now 26 years old, still has the stuffed Carlton the Bear stuffed animal. But I greatly appreciate it. A lot of fun, storied career to say the least. And we're going to see you as part of a project that we're working on coming up down the road a little bit.
Yeah,
Folks about that later, and I appreciate that too. But thank you very much. Good luck the next couple weeks and into training camp and into the season. Thank you.
yeah, I appreciate. Thanks for having me on, Simmer. It was great to talk to you and go over some old stories and things like that. So, thanks for having me on.